Hello there, friends and sane persons, and welcome to another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. My name is Kyle, and Wednesday Whimsy is a short show I do every Wednesday evening where I talk about a board game, a top 10 list, or some other board game related topic, whatever happens to be on my mind. Well, I'm kind of cheating on this one and pre-recording it because when this comes up on Wednesday, I will be on the Dice Tower Cruise, and one of my favorite places to go because it's a great place to play board games, and that's honestly what I'm going to be doing. But I did want to make sure I got something out for us. So what I'm talking about today is a game that came out at the end of 2025, very, very end. I believe it might have been on my top 10. I don't remember, but it was no, I don't think I had come out in time to make my top 10 or top 25 of 2025, but it was definitely on the quarterly countdown because, of course, it was one of the best games I played last quarter. And that game is Forestry. So Forestry is a game from Capstone Games, and also I'm wondering if it's a co-design with Pink Troubadour. It might be because it's a Czech designer, and Capstone seems to be bringing those over. Regardless, we'll talk a little bit about it. I'll tell you what I think. So, what is it about? Well, this is a game about forestry. You are some sort of forestry individual. You're a person, and you are trying to chop down trees, turn those trees into lumber, build various wood products, but also make sure that you replant some trees so that there's more to harvest next time, and doing other forestry-related activities. Mostly it's about fulfilling contracts, but it's also about some level of building and upgrading and getting the most points. So how does it work? Well, let me show you here some pictures. So the game it's kind of an action point allowance game, I guess I might say it like this. So you've got this board that represents the forest, and it's divided into three sectors. I wanted to say quadrants, but there's only three of them that are different colors, and that only matters for some things. But you're going to be moving around. You've got this harvester machine, this piece of heavy equipment, which is very blurry. This piece of heavy equipment that can move around, and on your turn you have three actions as a base, but as the game goes on you can upgrade that to 4 or 5, or in some perfect worlds eventually 6. You can also use money to buy additional actions, but one of the kind of main things you're going to be doing is taking this harvester token and moving it to the different areas of the board. You'll see that each of these spaces has a different kind of tree that's available there. And so another thing you could do is spend an action to flip this token over, and that will harvest it. You'll get one piece of this particular pink wood that has a name, I'm sure. Sometimes you can see this one costs 2 actions to flip. This one over here costs 2 actions and will give you 2 of the wood. So, you're picking kind of what you want to flip based upon what's available. Another thing you can do is if you get these seedlings and you could go to a spot where the wood is flipped, you can replant, and that's going to give you bonuses. And one of the main things that you're really trying to do in the game is to move up on this reward wheel. And let me see if I can find a picture of the reward wheel. Here's somebody's reward wheel. You'll see this wheel here in the middle. As you go around it, you're going to eventually hit this top spot, and that lets you move. You start with a marker in one of these spots, and you can move to a different reward. And those are instant rewards, and they're pretty good, actually. Focusing on your reward wheel is a great thing. You can see, if I can move on over here, this is zoomed in a little bit too much. You can get free resources, a card and some points. You can get a wood processing token and some money, or you can get to move up on this technology track. When you hit these gear spaces, you get to take one of your technologies. When you move up to a second time, you'll see that you start getting 4 actions per turn, and eventually 5. I've never made it past 5. And that's just more things you can do on your turn. You can also build these buildings. The buildings are going to go out at spots of intersections, like you can see this spot here. If you put it here, you would take this token, which is worth a reward. Additionally, you have a a workshop manager. Those are the resources. And the workshop manager is going to be moving around the outside of the board and taking actions based upon these spots. They largely relate to getting the wood processing tokens, or to getting other resources, or also to gaining contracts. And gaining contracts is kind of a main mechanism of the game. This contract you'll see is probably a starter. No, it's not a starter. This is one you can pick up. It needs to have a wood, this red wood, and it needs to have been processed with the blue process, which I think is chopping it up into planks. And you can see, you'll also see some information about this is building a greenhouse. You can see what you would, why wood is important in there. There's a lot of flavor text that will allow you to sort of get some interesting theme out of the game if you're interested in doing that as well. Anyway, you're going to keep going. An interesting thing about these wood processing tokens is that they're always assigned to a specific piece of wood. So, like, and now thematically that makes sense. If you take a pine tree and chop it up into planks, and then you trade it to somebody for a piece of spruce, well, those planks would still be chopped up, and the spruce would not be chopped up. You'd have to do that again. You can't really undo these processes once you've done them. Anyway, you're going to play through a few rounds. The number of rounds is 10 or 9 if you're using the advanced game, and that's tracked with this bonus marker that's going to flip over and give you a bonus each round. And then you'll see who has the most points. You'll get some points for various things that you've done, but lots of them are through the contracts that you fulfilled during the game. You can also build these waterway tokens. There's water structures, and as you pick them up, for example, this one here, it means I'm going to score for every one of this particular contract type that I fulfilled. And the number of points I score is going to be based upon another track that I can move up a few steps at. Again, that's something you really have to focus on. Nothing's easy in the game, but it's possible if you'd like. Then you're going to see who has the most points, and that's who the winner is. So what makes the game special? Well, I enjoy this game. You have a lot of freedom in. You're given 3 action points, potentially more, and you're able to kind of just focus on whatever you want. There's not really a lot of restrictions of, oh, well, I can't do this. The board is open, the contracts are available, and the contracts are going to give you a push in the right direction, but you could never use one if you want, and just focus on other ways to get points. I enjoy that kind of intentionality in game design. It feels very free. It feels very interesting to sort of go out and say, this game I am going to plant. Or there's these forest activity tokens. I didn't talk about them, but they're in various spots. You can, I don't know, trim the forest or paint the trees with something. I don't remember what they were, but you can get those, and those will get you a lot of points. And then you can kind of pick early on or late on which of the water structures you want. You can only build 2 in the game, but by doing that, you're going to have something else to focus on. I also like, I didn't mention it, but each of the characters has a special ability. There's 2 sides of the board, the asymmetric side and the symmetrical side. The asymmetric sides, they're very interesting. They're not hard. None of the special abilities is hard. One of them, whenever you hit certain breakpoints on your reward wheel or build certain buildings, you get to flip over a token and then put it on this board adjacent to other tokens. And if it matches the colors, you can collect a bonus. Whenever you fulfill a contract, you get to move down this contract track as far as you want and claim a bonus, but you can never move back. One of them gives you points when you store stuff. One of them gives you, points when you fulfill different contracts. You can flip over tokens and then flip them back for points. There's small twists on the system. Nothing that's major, nothing that's kind of game-breaking, but all of them are going to give you another thing to focus on, another way to kind of get resources and points generally, but mostly it's going to be resources and things during the game. So it gives you something else to focus on. I think they're a lot of fun. I also like how much theme there is in this game. It's a fairly dry Euro game with a fairly bland theme, but there's a lot of theme there. Somebody went through a lot of effort to sort of think, okay, this is the kind of wood we use for building speakers. And then, find a picture of the speakers and then put some flavor text about why wood is used in speakers. I mean, this was somebody's passion project. And although I'll admit the topic of chopping down trees and building stuff out of them isn't something that's naturally all that interesting to me, I did find it fascinating to be able to learn something out of this game. And the rule book does a great job at presenting both the theme, kind of setting the background of, okay, why is this action in the game? Why are we, reforesting the forest? Okay, this is how it works. This is why people do it. And that's great. You can learn a lot too. I enjoy the solo mode. I find it to be challenging but beatable, which is good. It's also pretty easy to run. It's flip a card and do so. You actually, it's kind of funny because the way that it works is there's this deck of cards, and as a primary action, the solo bot is going to want to do what's on the back of the cards. But if they can't, and those are going to be dealing with chopping or fulfilling contracts or gaining the wood processing tokens. And if not, you flip it over and then you do the first action you can get to. It's pretty easy to run. It took a bit to learn, but after I learned it, it's something I can just kind of do, and that lets me focus on the game, which is really the way that a solo experience is supposed to be. So good solo mode. I found the rulebook to be pretty good. I didn't come away with a lot of questions about how to play. I will say, just reading it, because I read it first and then tried to play, that was a little hard. As I read through it, I was like, I don't know what's going on yet. But once I sat down and ran through each action, I was able to get it with really no questions. So also the kind of game that will reward you for focusing, which means, as you play it multiple times, you can kind of try different things, and the people who best focus on what they're going to be doing are probably going to be the people who win. Also, nothing in this game really scores buckets of points. Even, let's say, you focus on your water structure and you get it up to a 3 or 4 times multiplier, which is going to be real difficult to do. I mean, at that point, the game's probably over. And you will or will not have focused on the thing. I find that nothing in here gives a huge bucket of points, and so everything feels kind of balanced as long as you're able to be focused and intentional. Also, it's not too long. I think 9 rounds is about right. What does the box here say? The box says 60 minutes plus. I think 60 minutes, 45 to 60 is about right, especially at 2 players. I think 2 players is a really strong player count. 3 is pretty good as well. So, also, it looks good. This is just, it's a positive game experience. But I really enjoy just kind of the freedom to try different things, and the way everything kind of fits together is really nice. And yeah, it's an enjoyable game. So where's the but? Well, as I mentioned, I don't know that the theme here is going to be jumping out and grabbing a lot of people. Maybe some people have connections to the forestry industry, but I don't. I mean, I'm grateful for wood, but I don't know that I think about it a lot. Also, this box cover doesn't really scream play me. I honestly picked it up because it was being published by Capstone, and they're a flypaper publisher for me. So I pretty much pick up everything they put out, and I think I must have seen it was by Pink Troubadour, and their games have so far not let me down. So I bought it kind of as an afterthought when I was buying something else. But I'm really glad I did. This is the kind of game I really would have passed up. And I'm worried a lot of other people might as well, because it doesn't look all that great from the box, and the theme isn't all that sparkling and exciting. There's also, a lot, it can be, well, the first time you play, it can be a little bit, I won't say punishing, because you're always being rewarded, but you might find that the end of the game comes upon you and you haven't done very much, because there's always something new to try and see, and if you do a little bit of everything, you're just not going to do very well in the game. So I think it makes it a little harder to learn. But on the whole, that's not all that many buts. I really enjoy this game. So where does it come down for me? It probably would have been in my top 25 of 2025 if it had come out in time for me to have played it. I'm really wondering if it was in there or not. It's, I did that list so long ago that I found the list here. I don't see that it was, and that makes sense because it really hadn't come out in time to make that list. But it probably would have been had it come out a little earlier in the year. So I really enjoy it. I give this one a 9 out of 10. It's one of my, it's going to be one of my go-to Euro style games for people who, don't necessarily want to move cubes around. And you're kind of doing that, although there aren't really very many cubes in the game. But, it's that style of game, but there's enough love and theme and passion put into this that it can be enjoyable by somebody, and you'll really feel, okay, that was a fun game. It didn't just feel like moving cubes around. So, I don't know. I would love an online version of this or an app version. I think I'd play it a lot, actually. I hope it finds its way to Board Game Arena someday. But as it is, it's one I'm playing and I'm enjoying. So I recommend it. I don't know that it'll be for everyone, but if it sounds interesting, it's certainly worth trying before you buy at least. And that's what I've got for you. Well, I'm going to get back to the cruise here, and I thank you for joining me this week. But I'll be back next week with another topic. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I've got a week to figure that out. Anyway, until then, safe travels, courage when you need it, and I'll see you back again soon on another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Bye-bye.